Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Fame Book Club, Walking Through Fire. Today it's me, Adrienne, founder of Fame, and my bestie, Tuso. We will be reviewing the book, Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depended on It by Chris Voss. So, typical run through, right? So we're going to talk about how we felt about the book, what did we gain from the book, how does this book help us walk through fire, and then what's coming up next. So this is our book for the month of February, and we'll just jump right in. So, Tuso, I'm going to ask you, I know we spoke about this offline, but 10 out of 10 recommend. How did we feel about this book?
I can't give this book a grade. I just feel like it should have been a pamphlet, not a book. And if it was going to be a book, then it's an autobiography.
Yeah. So I normally like when we sprinkle in real life into this, but the ratio was off for me too.
It was super off. I would give it 5 out of 10. And here's why. Because he should actually get less than that. But I'm going to be fair and say 5. And that's because I'm going to just break it in half, right? I think majority of the book was about him and him gloating about all the miraculous and fantastic things that he's done in his career. Great. Cool. Say that for your autobiography. I want to know, how can I swindle people and get what I want? That is why I read the book. What is a swindle? I have learned more from watching the Tender Swindler on Netflix.
Oh my God. I knew you were going to say that.
What's that show about Anna Delvey? I've learned more about swindling and negotiating from that versus this book. And the reason I say that is because at the end of each chapter, he gives you a summary, and it just shows how little he focuses on the actual tactics and how more he speaks about his experiences and then throws in one little example of one of his students or something. To me, that's kind of like really, like, give me more examples. Give me something that can stick. I think for the most part, like, the stories stick, but if that's not your focus, if you read it in the book and you're really reading it and you are trying to pick up, okay, what are the tools? You can see a tool, right? He tells you the tool, but there's not enough information on how to successfully use the tool. He'll have like one, and then say the chapter is 20 pages. It's half a page about the tactic, 2 sentences about the example, and everything is about him being, what is he, an FBI negotiator? Like, boy, like, that's great, thanks, but where's the cons? Like, I need the tricks.
Nah, honestly, like, I wish we did spend a little more time actually, like, breaking down the tactics and application of it. More examples. I actually appreciated the examples more than the whole long story about the heist and all of that. And it was exciting the first 1 or 2 times, like, he was talking about, like, the bank heist, and I was like, oh my goodness, and breaking it down. But then it was the same pattern throughout the book of just this long story about this case and small examples about, like, the tactic itself. And I would have liked to see that ratio swapped a little bit and just, like, really delve into the tactics a little bit more. Yeah, you said 5. I'm going with a 4. So
see, I was being nice. I'm glad.
Yeah. No.
I just feel like I was so excited about the book because, as you know, like, I'm about to buy a house. You know what I mean? You're buying houses. We're going to be in such situations where we need to negotiate, right? But to be honest, the whole gist of the book is about really having emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the book is about.
Yeah.
The book is about emotional intelligence. So basically what Chris Voss told me was that out of everybody in the FBI, he the only one that had emotional intelligence. That's what he taught me. Like, and it's just, it's sad, but as a person who has been in sales in many of her career and her journey, and as someone that's an empath, emotional intelligence comes something easy to me. So it's like, I may not have known the name of the tactics that I was using previously, but sir, I didn't need your whole background.
Yeah.
Like, literally, this book is Chris Voss's resume.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Also, as a fellow empath, it's funny because every time he hit a tactic, I was like, oh, there's a word for that thing that I've been doing. Okay, I got it. And like, it was good to kind of reaffirm what we've already kind of been experiencing or going through. But I definitely have to agree with you on that. We should have seen a little bit more breaking it down as opposed to resume and cover letter and just like, reliving the glory days. But
like, I literally remember him speaking about active versus passive listening, mirroring, tactical empathy, right? So as we're empaths, so we know about empathy. We just didn't realize that we were doing tactically, right? Which he refers to as labeling, and then having calibrated questions, which I do, and you do. Like, we ask people questions and we just shut up.
No, I think it's interesting though, because this is also coming from Chris Voss as a man, and oftentimes we find that men just aren't as empathetic. So this could, depending on the audience, I could see how some people really enjoy this book. But I think, and also like the high stakes situations and the action, it was like an action film of a book. Yes. And that's just not my cup of tea. And I just find I'd be interested to see how other women react to this book and how men react to this book. Because I actually picked this book because another podcast I listened to, one of their guests was like raving about this book, and he was a man. So maybe this is just a gender thing, and I don't know, but I'm sure
on YouTube there was this guy like, this book is so great.
Yeah.
And I was like, you are lying. I just read it. It is fresh. But then also I feel like not only just being women, but being Black women reading it. It's like the example that he gave with the them trying to get, I guess, what they consider terrorists out of the apartment, and him, basically coercing them with making them feel safe. And letting them know that you're safe. Okay, Chris Voss, they wasn't safe. You made them feel like they were safe. Guess what? Men do that to women all the time, especially Black women. So reading this book, I'm like, we get swindled all the time. So at this point, we know how the tactics like mirroring, I think it's good, like you said, to put a word to it. You know what I mean? So like, I can't believe that this 3-year-old child is missing. Yes, this 3-year-old child is missing. Oh. Okay. Like, that's where his example stops. You know what I'm saying? And then rather than continuing with how it should flow, he then says, and then once you start mirroring, they'll start speaking, and it's like, sir, that's it?
Yeah. I mean, I know we spent a lot of time on how we felt about the book. I think that's pretty clear, but did you gain anything from this book? So what's a takeaway that you have?
That I have the gift of negotiation or emotional intelligence. And I also took away, I'm not even gonna be an a-hole. I did take away though the simple fact that now I have words to things that I was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now I know, like, labeling. Cool, got it. Thank you, Chris Voss. Mirroring. Thank you. Tactical empathy. Thank you. Got it. But as someone who, like, like working at Enterprise and selling cars, Enterprise actually gave us a better book that I still have to this day that speaks about emotional intelligence and how that helps you with sales. And sales is all about negotiating. You know what I mean? And I just feel as though with Chris Voss, once again, to reiterate, I wish I just didn't just get stories and that I really dived into like the breakdown of emotional intelligence. But I feel like he couldn't have done that because people had already done it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went to his publishers and said, I want to write a biography of myself. And they were like, no. And he was like, I can teach people things. And they were like, what can you teach? And he inserted these tactics in the middle of his biography.
Fair. I really feel like you clearly feel very strongly about this book, and I'm not gonna fight you on it because I agree. So I like as far as what I got from this book, I definitely like sometimes it's like one of those things where it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I do appreciate the rhetoric and like having a word for the tactics. So that's helpful. I thought it was funny that he kind of described some of it as like a Jedi mind trick. And that's kind of what I was thinking as I was like, reading the book and even just like hearing him go through these kind of like scenarios. A little bit of it kind of like, obviously he's an FBI negotiator, so it felt a little bit of like manipulation also, but obviously that's what it is.
He's manipulated 100%. All of us to buy this book.
Yeah.
No, it's true. He's a brilliant man. He sold this book, a New York Times bestseller, with nothing in it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like, and I'm not trying to discredit, like I get it works in the FBI thing, but as someone that, you know me, I like to dive deep into things and break things apart so you know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
In our previous book, there was no way that we could just be like, yeah, atomic habits, build the atomic habit.
Yeah. No, like the way they broke it down
step by step.
Yeah.
So if I want to be a negotiator, like break it down to me. Like really break it down to me. Like your stories is good, but break it down to me because I feel like when I go by my house, there's a middle person. You get what I'm saying? And so how do I get my emotional intelligence that I'm picking up on? Say like you give me an offer and I think your offer is too high and I send in an offer that's lower, right? In order for me to negotiate properly, I would have to be like, say you're the homeowner, right? And you're the actual person selling the house. I would have to be in front of you to do some of the things that he's asking us to do. But what are all those times that you're negotiating and you're not exactly in front of or on the phone directly with the person? Yeah. That is more interesting to me, right? Because what I convey to a third party, they might not be able to convey in a way that is that's tactical empathy to that person.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of going through the same situation this week, and I'm almost feeling like I'm at a deficit because I have to have this third party kind of negotiate on my behalf, and that in of itself is uncomfortable because I now need to trust them to have the awareness and emotional empathy and tactical empathy and all of this kind of stuff to do all those things on my behalf. And maybe this is a lesson to also vet your third parties and your agents and stuff like that to understand, like when you're trying to pick someone to represent you, make sure that they have all the tips and skills and tricks that you have at your disposal and that you trust them to negotiate as hard for you.
Right. Because, you see me in action. Like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. You know what I mean? And like all jokes aside, but like, I think about, for instance, like someone selling their forever home because right now it's COVID and they may have family in a different state or a different country. And right now they're running, it's a difficult thing for them to give up something that has so much value to them, right?
Yeah.
And so they might mark a house, I don't know, we just gonna say 20,000, let's just say, right? But we all know that this house is 5,000. Like, you know what I mean? But because the person has so many memories and so many amazing things in his house, that's what shows their value. So when I'm in front of the person and they be like, no, like you're undervaluing my property. No. I can then use labeling and things. I know that you feel as though that I am undervaluing your property. And I understand why you believe so. What a beautiful home. You must have made great memories in here, right? Be quiet. They start talking. Kids' memories. We both start exchanging memories. And I would love to build those type of memories in this house. This is why I'm trying to buy your house. I want to create the same thing that you created. All the magic in this house. That 20,000 coming down. That's what he's trying to teach us to swindle. I already know how to swindle, sir. I didn't know the names, but that's what I'm saying. Like, every instance in this book is him being in direct contact with the subject matter. Give me a part 2 where you're negotiating and you're not the person in front.
That's a good point.
That's what I'm saying. Because in this day and age, you want to buy a building, you're going through a third party. Buy a house. You want to buy a car. You want to, like, you know what I mean? There's so many different. They building the metaverse. Who knows if we're going to see each other? Like, who knows?
Right. It's going to be like the Matrix soon.
Yeah, like, what am I going to do? Like, I might not even need to buy anything from anybody or negotiate anything. I could probably just, like, click and it's the Jetsons and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just wish that, I think he's a very brilliant man. And I don't discredit that. And I feel like people who do not have empathy or lack empathy can learn a lot from this book. But I would go ahead.
No. I would also just say, this book, proceed with caution, because ending up in the wrong hands, this could be a really bad weapon.
Trump uses it all the time.
Exactly.
For example, wrong hands.
Right.
Like, what do you think the whole of Wall Street, all the people are like, I love this book. This right here. Bankers, lawyers, all the people that control government officials, they definitely was reading Chris Voss' book. Matter of fact, they didn't, in the book, he said that he went to FBI training camp or whatever at some college, and this is what they teaching. In spaces where it's predominantly white men and female.
Yeah.
White men and women, excuse me. But you know what I mean? Like, so that's something to also think about when I'm reading this, right? Look at the spaces that he was in. Like, look at the spaces that he was in. And look at the some of the instances he had were privileged people. Like the guy that was robbing a bank with just his friends and they just rolled up in there. And he lived in the neighborhood. Privilege. I'm not running up in no bank like what? And thinking that I'm gonna just get away with it. Like what?
Yeah.
A black man can't walk in a grocery store without them watching him, much less do some of the stuff in the examples that Chris Voss gave. It's like I can't relate to it. Like, I can see it and hear it, and I said, he's brilliant, but also like Chris Voss was doing these things years ago. And now we're in a time where people are, especially because of the pandemic, learning, growing, feeling. You know what I mean? Like, the world is now forcing people to have empathy. And for when you don't have empathy, you don't have any employees. That's what's going on right now. Like,
yeah.
It just needs to be updated, I guess, you know?
Yeah, there could definitely be an adaptation for the current times and what this looks like. So I think that's a good call to action. Let's update it for the times. And then let's also do it from the perspective of what if we're not the one in the hot seat? And I always like to kind of close out with this, but, how will this even help us with walking through fire? So, our generation where we're trying to figure out a way to retire early or figure out, when can we really achieve financial independence? And, what can we take away from this book to kind of help us to get there? I mean, we kind of touched on it before, like what were our takeaways, what we gained from the book, but really it just comes down to, if you're going to be negotiating, get to the no and then keep pushing through the no to try and get to a win. So that's using the tactics that he explained in the book, emotional, being aware, to having emotional and coming from an empathetic stance. Also, the language, the tools that you use, the mirroring, labeling, those kind of things, they're meant to be tools to help you connect with the person that you're working with. So that way you can get from no to yes, right? And I know he mentioned that is actually a separate book altogether, but not for today. That's for another time.
And I also think, too, with a lot of people who, especially Black creators, now I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and now you hear many Black podcasters speaking about how they get ripped off by these big companies, wanting them to advertise products or be a part of a team and not being paid what they should, in comparison to their white counterparts. You know what I mean? And I think it sounds messed up, but having this book and learning how to negotiate, because what it is all about trust, right? And when people approach you in business, they don't approach you on trust, to build trust. They approach you on, I'm giving you this opportunity. But are you?
Yeah.
Right? And then being able to build tactical empathy and use the tool in order to ask for what you want. Not even a yes, because they came to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But if they come to you and they give you $5,000 a post, but you know that your white counterpart is getting $15,000 a post, then you can go ahead and be like, oh, wow, $5,000 a post, right? Yes, isn't that great? Isn't that great? They start talking. Well, what I noticed is that A, B, C, and D gets 15,000 posts. What I also noticed is that these people are no longer or do not exist within the Black community. Is that fair to say? They answer. Then you're like, oh, well, does that mean that you don't value Black culture and Black creatives as you do our counterparts? Crickets. What do you think would be fair?
And then, now they have to answer, and they have to.
Now they have to answer.
Yep.
Now they have to answer, because negotiation goes both ways. And I feel like in this time and day, with business and everything changing, a lot of Black creatives are being sought after. And we need to negotiate, because no one teaches us how to do that in our community. How to negotiate upward, not just take something because it comes to us, but you're going to pay me for what I believe I'm worth. And I think from that standpoint, and learning how to actively listen, but also see what's in front of you, I think negotiation and learning to negotiate using some of these tools would be very helpful.
Yeah. And then also, even inside of that, coming prepared, because you have to know what the other counterparts are making and have the information to back it up, right? So they don't expect you to come prepared, but you need to have that knowledge and that research up before you even get to the table. So knowing your worth also involves being prepared to even sit at that table. The other thing I wanted to just kind of like hit on also was, many times we hear no and we walk away. And we really need to keep our goals in mind. And if that FI date, that financial independence date, is really that important to you, don't quit, don't give up. So use the tools, just like Tuso said. I almost called you So-So, but just like Tuso said.
Well, that's what she calls me normally, people. So
yes,
she's being professional for you guys.
trying, yeah. No, but really, like, use the tools to make sure that you are asking for what you're worth. You are being paid equitably, right? And that, you know, you're getting to the goal in mind, right? So we always want to keep our goal in front of us and don't lose sight of that just because there's a shiny object on the table.
Right. So, and you've taught me, you know, even though the goal is in front of me, right? How do you attach your goals together? So like with FIRE, the whole point is to retire early. So if you're taking 5,000, for instance, and knowing that other people are getting 15,000, if you get that 15,000, you could then put 5 to your real estate, 5 in your savings, and take the other 5 to do what you choose. You know, that's something that Adrienne taught me. So it's like, if you are asking for less than what is being offered by other people, you're pushing your goal back when you could be pushing it forward. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, 100%. So that is everything that we have to say on this book for this month. For March, it is Women's History Month, so we will be reading Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. And that's everything for today. So continue to follow us, like, subscribe, check in next week, and we will have some comments, some thoughts, some reactions. We'll have some reactions for you next month. So thank you everyone for joining us. Please, like I said, you know, follow us on social media, check in with us again, and we appreciate you for stopping by.
Bye, guys.